France, only people who have set their browser preference to English, or only people who have been who browse English sites regularly, will be eligible to see the ad. However, this is not a perfect system. We've seen many times where we'll select English, but we'll still get our ads in a display campaign showing up on sites of all different sorts of languages. So it's not a perfect science. If you're advertising to an international crowd, you could definitely expect to have your ads mixed in with a lot of languages that will not be able to understand your ad or your website, but that's part of the cost of advertising to an international crowd. Listen, there are ways that we could solve this, especially when it comes to display campaigns, and we're going to talk about those methods in greater detail. Because we're just targeting the US, it's not really much of an issue because the overwhelming majority of searches and websites and browser preferences are set to English. So we could leave this set to English and we don't need to worry about anything further. Next, we talk about, we're asked about our bidding strategy. And we have two basic radio options. The first one is I'll manually set my bid for clicks. And the second one, which is selected by default, is AdWords will set my bids to help maximize clicks within my target budget. Don't leave that selected. You're going to end up spending a lot of money in a very not thoughtful and not strategic way. The point of you watching this course is for you to understand how to bid profitably, how to set up a campaign from scratch manually with a lot of human thought and human brain power behind it. So you want to go ahead and select, I'm going to manually set my own bids for clicks. And then we're asked for two things. One is a default bid and one is a daily budget. Now, your default bid is going to be applied to the first ad group in your campaign. That means if you create an ad group, and we're going to talk much more in depth about ad groups and keywords and all of that, but if you create an ad group targeting, let's say, office desks, that will be our first ad group, for example, our default bid will be whatever we put here, which means that will be the most you're willing to pay for a click on any of your keywords in that campaign. So for example, we might have new office desks on wheels, office desks with filing cabinets. Those might be three of our keywords. If they inherit, when we first add those keywords, they're going to inherit the default bid that we set here at the ad group level. So let's say I set a default bid of $3 just for now. Now you're asking, where did I come up with the number $3? It's a good question, and I came up with the number of $3 by my experience in thousands of different AdWords campaigns in this industry as well, so I kind of know what a good default starting point is, but I'm going to show you how you could determine what a good default bid will be by doing very high-level keyword research and by understanding your own numbers, your own profitability, and your own profit margins. The next one is more straightforward. What's our daily budget? While it does seem straightforward, there's a lot to understand about determining a daily budget. Certain advertisers have an unlimited budget as long as they're profitable to a certain ROI. So as long as you're making $3 back on every dollar spent, you might have an unlimited budget. Many advertisers have a cap what they're willing to or what they want to spend per day. Now, this is going to be very arbitrary because I am not advertising for Poppin in real life. I haven't spoken to them. I don't know what their profit margins are. I don't know what their cost of doing business is. I don't know what their cost of manufacturing is. I don't know what the data in their account has shown. So I'm going to really just set a completely arbitrary $50 a day. Okay, so that's my $50 daily budget. An important thing to know about daily budget is that you could spend more. A little bit more. There's usually a 10 to 15% margin of error on Google's side. So if you set a $50 a day budget, you should expect to spend or to potentially spend up to around $60 to $65 a day. But it also means that you might not spend that $50. This is just the max that you're willing to spend on a given day, give or take a little bit. Their default bid is the max you're willing to pay per click. We have some advanced options under bidding strategy. Over here, we have the option to use enhanced CPC. Now, enhanced CPC is a function that we'll talk about in future chapters. For now, we could just ignore it. But one thing that's important to know is that you could only use enhanced CPC once conversion tracking is actually set up. We also have the option of selecting a flexible bid strategy. When I select that radio box, another dialog opens and it asks me to choose a flexible bidding strategy from our library. We don't have any flexible bidding strategies, and we're prompted to create one now. We're not going to create a flexible bidding strategy now, and we're not going to really talk too much about flexible bidding strategies because, once again, that's going to be in a later chapter, and I know I'm saying that a lot because there's just a lot to cover, and I want to get to the basics of how to set up a good campaign, really with the more essential fundamentals of campaign configuration. So ignore flexible bid strategy, but I promise we're going to get back to it. And it's actually really cool. It's an exciting thing, and it could be extremely helpful for a lot of accounts. We had to talk about conversion tracking. So for over now, go back to focus on clicks. I'll manually set my bid for clicks, and you could leave the basic options configured as they are. You have your default bid. For now, once again, you could, even if you don't know what your default bid or your daily budget is, just put in values. Put in $1, $2, 50 cents, $10 a day, whatever you want to put in, because once we click save at the bottom here, nothing's going to happen. We're not going to spend any money yet because we haven't set up our billing, we haven't created any ads, we haven't created any keywords. So you're not going to spend any money, and you could always change this later. You could change your default bids, you could change your daily budget, and it's extremely easy. And in fact, you're going to be changing your default bids and budget quite a bit, and I'm going to show you why you need to do that, and I'm going to help you understand when you need to do that. Before we go over to this section called Ad Extensions, let's click on Delivery Method Advanced. We're presented with two different options here. We have Standard Delivery option, which says optimize delivery of ads, spending budget evenly over time, recommended. Once again, I don't recommend this. What this means is that if I'm running my ads from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and I have a $50 a day budget, Google's going to attempt to spread out my ad impressions and clicks throughout the entire bracket of that time. So they want to be spending money and getting clicks between 10 and all the way up to 4 p.m. I don't like doing that because what tends to happen is you miss out on, you don't get enough information on what you could potentially spend. And I'll tell you what that means. Under the accelerated option, do not optimize delivery of ads, spending budget more quickly. This may cause your budget to run out early. Yes, accelerated means that Google doesn't care that I want to stop my ads at 4. Google just cares that I want to spend $50. So for every eligible impression and every eligible click, I'm going to have my ad appear, or I'll have my ad eligible to appear until my daily budget runs out. So for just as an example, let's say there are 1,000 searches a day for office desks. Okay, so let's say that's the only keyword in my account, and I'm spending $50 a day on the keyword office desks. So over those 1,000 impressions, over those 1,000 searches for office desks, Google knows that over the course of 200 of those impressions, I'm going to get enough clicks to deplete my $50 a day budget. So if I select a standard delivery method, Google's going to specifically skip over searches, skip over impressions, so they could evenly space out when I get those 100 clicks. Under accelerated, Google's going to attempt to show my ad for those first 100, for those first 1,000 impressions, for those first 100 clicks. And that might cause my budget to run out an hour after I launch my campaigns. I might have spent my $50 at 11 a.m. But that's excellent and valuable information that we wouldn't have had under a standard delivery option. We want to know how much volume is there. We want to know how quickly can I spend this money. I want to know if this keyword is profitable, if this keyword office desks is generating sales in a profitable way, at a profitable ROI. I now know that I could spend a lot more money on this keyword, and it's a golden opportunity. As a caveat, as a side point, there are other techniques to determine this information, even if you chose standard delivery, but I don't think they're as accurate. We'll talk about them, but I personally always choose accelerated delivery, and I'll let my ads run out if need be, but I will have gained very valuable information from doing so. So go ahead and click accelerated. Now listen, if you click standard, it's not a big deal. There won't be any major differences. This will not spell the success or failure of your campaigns. In fact, it's very rare that any one setting or any one option is going to make or break the success of your campaigns. It's everything together. It's understanding how all the elements work with their counterparts that's going to ultimately create a very, very successful campaign. Moving down